What if I told you that one man's decision to disobey a direct military order saved 6 lives at Pearl Harbor, and that for 76 years, America completely forgot his name? This is the story of Joe George, the sailor who threw a rope into hell and pulled out heroes. Stay with me, because this story will change how you think about heroism forever. December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, 7:55 a.m. In the next 90 minutes, over 2,400 Americans will die. Arizona will sink, and America will enter World War II. But in those chaotic moments, one act of heroism was about to unfold that would be lost to history for 8 decades. At 8:06 a.m., the USS Arizona takes a direct hit. A 1,760-pound bomb penetrates her forward magazine. The explosion is so massive, it lifts the entire front of the ship out of the water. 1,177 Arizona crew members would die as a result of this attack. Some instantly, others from burns and injuries in the following hours. But here's what you didn't learn in history class. Right next to the Arizona sits the repair ship USS Vestal, connected by heavy mooring lines. As the Arizona burns, 6 sailors find themselves trapped on a blazing platform with no way down. The water below is a sea of fire, behind them, an inferno. Above them, Japanese planes still attacking. These men have minutes to live. Nobody's coming to help. Enter Joe George, 26 years old, former amateur heavyweight boxer. Bosun's mate second class aboard the USS Vestal. Joe wasn't your typical by-the-book sailor. He was independent-minded, with a wife and daughter back home. It's the kind of guy who'd rather ask forgiveness than permission. And that rebellious streak was about to save 6 lives. Joe's commanding officer gives him a direct order. Cut the lines connecting the ships and get the Vestal to safety. It's the logical move, the safe move. The Arizona could explode again at any moment. But Joe George looks across that 70-foot gap and sees those trapped sailors. 19-year-old Donald Stratton, skin already blistering. Lauren Bruner, barely older, struggling to breathe through the smoke. Joe makes a decision that will define his life. He's not cutting those lines. He's throwing one. Picture this. Pearl Harbor is under attack. Ships are exploding. The USS Arizona is a floating funeral pyre. And Joe George stands on the Vestal's deck with a weighted line in his hands, about to disobey a direct order. He throws that line across the burning gap, 70 feet of hope sailing through smoke and flame. It lands perfectly, right in the hands of the trapped sailors. Now imagine you're Donald Stratton. You're 19, your clothes are on fire. Your only way out is to crawl, hand over hand, across a rope suspended 70 feet above flaming oil. Japanese bullets are splashing into the water below. One by one, these 6 men make that terrifying journey. Their hands burn and bleed. But Joe George stands there, holding that line steady, refusing to let go. All 6 men make it across alive. They collapse on the Vestal's deck, more dead than alive, but breathing. Joe George has done the impossible. He's snatched life from the jaws of death. But the story takes a heartbreaking turn. While Joe George's heroic action enabled all 6 men to escape the burning Arizona, only 4 would survive their severe burns. 2 would tragically succumb to their injuries. Yet without Joe George's courage, all 6 would have perished in the flames. For 76 years, these survivors carried Joe George's story. They tell anyone who will listen about the man who disobeyed orders to save their lives. They write letters to the Navy. They petition Congress. They refuse to let his heroism be forgotten. Donald Stratton and Lauren Bruner go on to live full lives, raise families, contribute to their communities. They never forget the sailor who threw them a lifeline. In 2017, 21 years after Joe George dies, he finally receives the Bronze Star for Valor. His daughter, Joanne Taylor, who had never heard the full story of her father's heroism, watches as the medal is presented to his family. Can you imagine? A daughter discovering her father was a hero who saved lives at Pearl Harbor decades after his death. Joe George's story matters because it reminds us that heroism isn't always about following rules. Sometimes it's about doing what's right when authority tells you otherwise. In our complex world, we need people willing to throw a lifeline to those in danger, regardless of consequences. You don't need to be a Navy sailor to be a hero. You just need to see someone in danger and decide to act. Joe George was an ordinary American who made an extraordinary choice. Joe George waited 76 years for recognition. But his story proves that true heroism never dies. It just waits to be discovered. What other forgotten American heroes should we unlock from the vault? Drop their names in the comments below. And if Joe George's story moved you, hit that subscribe button, because America has thousands of these incredible stories waiting to be told. The next time you face a choice between following orders and doing what's right, remember Joe George. Remember the rope. Remember that sometimes the greatest act of heroism is refusing to let go.